Right. So what is ExpressoTS is a TypeScript framework fully compatible with the JavaScript. So I've been creating this thing for the last 2 years and a half. So TypeScript and JavaScript became my turf 7 years ago, but I'm a C++ engineer and now Rust for the last 23 years. So I saw autonomous vehicles in there. It got me interested when I see the ecosystem of nodejs because it's all underneath C++. And I saw a lot of things that you could actually do with C++ using the nav library to increase performance. So I look to this, to the environment, and I see that there's just an STS here surfing the blue ocean, and why not creating something that could be interesting? I'm not gonna say better because I think we are too much overwhelmed with, everything is AI, everything is better, it's more performatic. You saw already the launch of Bun. So Bun say, oh, you're faster than etc. So my approach is very old style. I'm trying to build things solid, in a very dynamic way. There are a couple organizations already using the framework, and it's an open source framework. So one of the reasons why I'm here is, if you guys would like to know more about the framework, I'm gonna leave the presentation. You can access the website and you can contribute if you like. So I found this project really interesting. I want to learn more. It's a great opportunity for you to actually really get in depth and get out of the superficial level of just building tools on top of a tool. Why not build a tool that builds other tool? That the level of complexity get a little bit higher. So I'm Richard up here. As I said, I'm principal software engineer in a mining technology company. So I'm a creator of ExpressoTS. You can find that link at the end right there. So also the GitHub Brazil maintainer. So we are the third larger open source community in the globe. So it's really interesting the meetings that we have with Microsoft and teams about the projects that are being built in Brazil. It's been cool. So you can also find me to that handle right there from the GitHub in case you're curious about the projects that I built. Everything I build, try to put in GitHub and have some collaborators that could join the projects. And you're gonna find everything that you basically need to understand about ExpressoTS. Another thing I would like to highlight is that I'm trying to innovate even the way we do open source, because I've been in this, doing open source for many years, and the only thing that you see from contributors that you see on the GitHub, very far right corner, the contributors there. So I'm really trying to highlight that people really putting their energy and effort to work on something that they're not getting paid for. So it's the first thing that, the approach that I'm trying to have with this particular project. So what is actually, ExpressoTS? I like your guys' talk because you guys talk about a problem that exists for 30 years, which is how we, continue building applications, maintaining the basic fundamental principle that we decided back in the days, and being able to continue to scale the applications. Sounds like a jargon, right? So scalability, maintainability, but there are actually built papers in any university. I'm also a teacher in college here, LaSalle. So there's actually papers that really use a lot of those tools and concepts about software development, how you can actually build applications that are truly decoupled. It's really hard. There's no silver bullet that's going to be answering all your questions, but there are tools and techniques that you can definitely use to make your application decoupled. And why is this good for an organization? Right? This is good for an organization because you can get a developer up to speed. He understands the project structure really quickly. You don't have to spend 3 months of his probation period just to try to understand, here's my main entry point of the application. Now I figure out where the things are. So the other thing is that, those God classes that we used to have. So, this all comes down with object-oriented programming. Right? So we create properties in there, that we create methods, getting status, and we keep enlarging the class. And the developers spend a lot of time trying to read that class because it's so homologous, and most of that code's not even related to what is going to be changing the application. So I think decoupling more and using the right tools, you can definitely have a very productive and responsiveness to the business. I think that's one of the things we struggle with also, right? Because one thing is your personal project is super fun, but when you're in a professional setting, you just want to finish your work. I mean, you're under pressure. You want to be able to prototype things quickly. You want to be able to deliver things quickly. And I think that's where actually you're aiming for. We do have a weekly and strongly opinionated. I don't believe that we don't have anything that's not opinionated. For the moment that you have a library as already an opinion. The reason why I'm saying weekly and strongly opinionated is because if you have used SJS, You scaffold a project. You can basically structure a project in your own way. That's our weekly opinionated. So the other template that we have, which is the strongly opinionated version, is actually scaffolding everything for you and having the enriched project structure that actually really helps you to expedite your development process. These are the differences. So the application is, the framework is very modular and extensible and follow, the best practice that we could extract from those, from those design principles. In fact, I like that you mentioned about a proxy. Proxy is existing a concept called aspect programming paradigm since 1999 that was first developed in Java. So there's papers from professors at UBC that actually research on this. They basically say, proxy is an intercept, so something that cross concern, right? So you can intercept a point and then modify that point in certain time. So we brought some of those tools and principles and techniques to really build a framework that was, really responsive to the business. That was basically the idea. So the framework is built on these 6, I would say, major blocks here. So I'm not going to be able to go in depth, but let's talk about the I, right? So the dependency inversion, or version of control, or container, right? There's so many synonyms that we use. But the cool thing about ExpressoTS is that imagine that you have a box. That box has a scope, request, transient, singleton. So that big box, you can definitely have a defined scope from there, and everything you throw in that box will take that scope in there. So, but we also have modules in which you can organize your controllers. Usually you call it control your endpoint. So you can set a scope for your module as well, and everything underneath your module will have a particular scope. And then you can set those well for your controller. So just by annotating these classes, you can have different scopes. And you can see that the precedence is always, controller, module, and then scope. If you basically don't annotate or decorate any of your classes, will take the default scope on the companion. So the other point I'd like to mention is the global configuration. So if you start a project today in JavaScript or TypeScript, you're gonna, again, face the same thing. It's repeating yourself, which is, okay, so I'm gonna be building everything. I need to connect the database later on. I need to think how do I gracefully shut down the database. All these life cycle hooks, events, and you spend time on things that you already know, have been doing. So even with nodejs, you have to do all these global configuration, the main entry point of the application when you bootstrap your application. ExpressoTS actually follows the strategy of .NET Core, which if you bootstrap an application .NET Core using the programmer class, actually encapsulating the class called startup, in which you have the still event cycles in there. And there you can set up your environment. As you can see here, we have 3 different environments, 3 different events lifecycle hooks here. Configure services. You can configure services before you serve initialize. So post-service initialization, you can configure service after you serve initialize. And anything you want to ship down, basically, you put inside of this function. We also offer, as you can see here, this middleware dot. Every single, maintaining ExpressoTS middleware. So it's a different way of delivering things. Rather than you think about, I need to use course, I'm going to type npm I course. You just actually add course here, and in runtime, the application will tell, hey, you need to install this. Right, so you have provision documentation when you're over your model, what is course for, right? So what is parser for? Another thing you have to think about if you're a new developer and you're just coding using ExpressoTS or API is, doing a post request, you're getting a name, read all what's going on because you forgot to add a button parser. I mean, it's, blow my mind when you're actually in a professional setting. I forgot this and I forget. Very often, right? But we do. And I think having a tool that allows us to give us this, out of the box to say, I don't have to think of these basic things and just, think on the business or developing the use case. I think that's the best approach. So the other block is controller. So everybody knows what controller is the main entry point for your request. User, so the web page, make a request to a form. The controller should have one single responsibility, and your responsibility would be, I receive the payload, I validate the payload, and I respond back. So in an MVC style, which I don't like, but again, these tools are tools for you to, develop your application the way you'd like to. Imagine they're all in the toolbox that you can use in the best way you would like to. But the way I like to use, it's using this, single responsibility principle and divide the concerns of the application is, I have one controller, I have one use case. And I have inside of this controller, when I look on the opinionated template that I have, I usually create user create controller, and then you have execute function inside that executes the controller. That execute calls the use case. So for every endpoint is a controller and a use case. You end up with more files, yes, but when you onboard a new developer and say, hey, you need to modify how you log in a user, he knows exactly where to go because that functionality is contained in that particular block of code. So here's a simple controller. There's annotated with the controller in there, and you can see that injection, the finished injection happening right here in the constructor. So the framework's also allowing you to inject things as a property. So you just need to use the annotation call or the creator call inject. And here, a bunch of other decorators that you can actually get the React wrapped body, and here the payload. Require just reinforced because of the DTO, which data transfer model or object, they're all optional. I'm calling a use case here in this case and passing the responsibility to the user case. So if I move on, I have the use cases. Use cases are just the implementation of the controller. The controller received the payload, validated the DTO, that's the use case. And here you can see that I'm just checking if the user exists in the database. We also provide a bunch of a plethora of tools like reporting errors, right? So rather than you manage how you're going to be handling errors. You still can do that, so if you want to, but we provide that for you out of the box. So, we just, type the message you would like to, the status code, and then the module that you're in, it will log that information as the JSON information back and say, look, there's this section in here. So if the user is successful, you're able to push that user into the database, and then I'm dispatching email. Look how cool this is, right? The email implementation is not here, it's so obvious, but it's not also coupled to here, it is injected right here. If you're doing tests, you're not using your keyword to generate an instance of your object, you're not able to get the best object inside of your structure because they're, getting injected. So the other thing is provider, so we interchangeably use provider with adapters, but they're essentially the same thing, is how we extend the framework. We have a plugin pattern, which is really cool. If you want to create an NPM package, you can also just implement this interface. And, when you implement the interface, you have your new package available. So what you actually do is just go back to this global configuration. You can see this line right here saying provider register. You can actually register your package that you build, comma, and then you pass the scope that you develop a package for a database, and you say this is a singleton and a register here. It becomes available in the container, so it's globally accessible throughout your entire application. So, there's a lot of things that are just TypeScript in here, and then there's still things that we have to do on nodejs with C++ using API as well to make things happen. As you know, AS3, so doesn't provide a reflection, a good metadata for reflection in history, so it's very weak. And I wonder why Microsoft and putting different priorities on how they handle solutions for new versions or for TypeScript. But, moving forward, we have modules. The module is a simple way of how you organize logical application. We have a user domain. You're going to be creating a lot of endpoints. Create a user, log in, authenticate them, etc. So why not encompass that into a module? Again, so you can set the scope of the module as well. So in a high level, this feature represents, every single framework from Spring Boot, .NET Core, Nest, Adonis, Happy, ExpressoTS. You have a major point of application. In our case, we have the container right in front of it. We're the first framework that exposed the container to the user. So the container is underneath the body, and then you can access it in here, and then actually access the tree and see the objects, the symbols that you're going to be instantiating in the future in case you want to do something more sophisticated. Modules can have multiple controllers. Controllers can be associated with use cases or multiple use cases if you're working in MVC model. The DTO, DTO, that's in a nutshell the framework. So, okay, so what is this, what specific challenge in software development does ExpressoTS address? I built this, first of all, for the organization that I'm working on, that we are using in application for 3D rendering the web, block models, a huge volume of data for rendering geographical plots. So the idea is that, we need to be able to be very responsive to the business. As I mentioned, it's one of the goals. With the structure that we provide and the consistency in the development, so we are able to rapidly prototype things and solutions and deliver the solution that company you're looking for. Here's the drill. As you can see here, we have two middleweights in here. So what we recommend is this: if you want a rapid prototype and you have something really cool, go for it, because it's very rigid. So I'm gonna give Andrew here and confirm the project. And what it's doing is that, I already copied the project, I already cloned and proposed into your local machine. But of course, I'm using NPM, and everybody knows that NPM is super batch, right? So, yeah, it's now always, some dependencies. There are not many, just like few ones, 5 or 6, and we try to remove some of those dependencies. But, here's the final answer for when you generate the project. You can just go inside the project. And another cool thing is that usually when you run a project, you type, oh, let me launch this project, and type npm run dev. And look how different we are. This application will fail. And it's intentional. The reason why it failed is because you can see a nice message right at the top, what the message says, right? So the environment validator provider, the file is not defined. So that was intentional. So because, we start actually from the beginning, from the get-go, teaching the developer and say, oh, this thing works with the plug-in play method, right? So if I go to the .env here and rename this to env, and I type npm run dev, this should work. Wrong. That. All right, so if I hit enter, it should be all good. Yeah, there you go. So we have a nice visual aid and see that you're actually in a development environment. If you switch to an interface to a production environment, it will change the color as well. But in here, if I simply say, curl, to get, I don't have Postman installed here, sorry. But I could hit enter here, you can get a response right away. I mean, we did a benchmark against S, etc. We are fast. But it's unfair to say we are fast. The reason why is because they have been around for 8 years. And as you build abstraction to deliver to the user, user experience, of course, you're going to be slowing down your application. We're brand new, 2.5 years, it's unfair to say that we're fast, right? So I don't go with this wide, but we are different, right? So now if I go into project structure, that's what I would like to show before we wrap up.
Go.
Right, as you can see here in the main application, it's just a function, a simple function with the bootstrap. First thing you're gonna notice is that I'm exposing the container here. So I print what is inside of the container, you can do so. You have the app class in here. If I go inside of this app class, which is a provider, I click on the provider right here, and you can see that I can configure things on the fly. Like, I'll give you an example, for instance, if I type npm run dev here, I launch the application, look at the hotkey load in. And then let's say, I want to add here another middleware. There's so many features that would like to show, but I don't have time. But this middleware dots, and then, just let go with the course. I want to add a course here. Look, all the ExpressoTS, supported the middlewares. If I save this, you can see that the validates are written along below. Say you don't have course installed. And if I just, install force here, it immediately start working. So if we say npm install course, and probably I need to npm install all the types /course as /course as that. If I hit enter, so there you go, the course is installed. You know what is really cool is that when I save, the problem goes away. So course is enabled on your system. And look at this, if I go inside of the course and pass an object, that's what the full part is. I got all the interface core law for France. If I want to say, origin here, and I'm getting accepting requests from everywhere, which is not safe, right? So we can just, for an example. Another cool thing is that, you don't see other frameworks is that when you're actually stacking middlewares on your requests, right? So it's just layers until you get a response back. You don't see the order, you don't see what happened, etc. So we come up with a way to visually demonstrate that to the user. If I say this to you, middleware dot, and then say view pipeline, and then say look how pull this test, you can actually see the JSON parser core middleware right here. So you can, if you change the order, it will change the order, and you can actually see things. And you can see that the path is being added globally. It's just because, you can do here as well, if I can say this middleware and say, you have pre-made middlewares here, but yes, if you want to add your own middleware, you can just type add middleware here. And then on your middleware, you can just, basically build your provider or download from an npm package. Say my mid, it's equal to request from Express, I guess. That's the request. response, express. Let me just import this thing right on the thumb. Oh. Okay. So we just imported. Right, so it's fine because of having custom modular here. So I just need to pass express response. And I guess, do we need from the modular the next? I think we need res, so the next function. We need that, right? So we need next function as well. And you know, I work at a desktop, I'll be in computer very comfortable. When I go to laptop, and you know, it's so lost it. In here, if I'm gonna just say console log, my Miller save, and I should be actually passing next here this. And you should be able to actually get your reader right here. And another thing is that you can do it different ways. You can pass an object. You can actually pass a path. You know, I want to pass here on this particular path. I want to say that this is inside of something called mid, right? So this is the path. And here you can actually pass an array of meters as well. And inside of this array of meters, you can actually pass through my meter. If we actually find out where my meter is, my make, right? So, and save it here. And there you go. So you can see the my need is written, you know, it's written in that path. Look, there's so many functionalities in this framework that I can even, you know, as I said, I mean, it would be spending probably more than an hour. But here's the invite. I mean, if you guys are really interested and you want to contribute, take a look at the web page on the content and say, you know, I like this idea and you want to contribute, you're more than welcome. So thank you very much for your time. If you guys have any one.